urge all Jamaicans, we must go back to work. We must go back to securing our incomes. We now have a better understanding as to how the virus is transmitted. We know the measures that we have to take until we get a vaccine. Let us follow those measures faithfully. Let us be responsible. And together, we will overcome this pandemic stronger and better.
And therefore, come June 1, the work-from-home order will expire without renewal. That means more persons will be commuting on public transportation, as well as more persons being in the workplace. But as we approach the next phase of COVID-19, let us still observe the wearing of masks, washing or sanitizing our hands, and where we can, practice social distance. Remember, we are not out of the woods just yet. I'm Adrian Atkinson, and thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine.
You've asked for it, and now it's here. The Jamaica Information Service has updated its mobile app. It's easier to navigate, loads even faster than before, talking about top speed, operates seamlessly across platforms, and we're a creative bunch, so it's much easier on the eyes. Now you have quick and easy access to news stories, television and radio features, and a variety of photos right at your fingertips. And you'll get push notifications when new content is uploaded. Download the app on your Apple and Android devices now and get news you can use. Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica on the go.
As the government carefully implements economic recovery measures of COVID-19, it has broken ground for a major redevelopment and expansion project at the Garmex Free Zone Complex on Marcus Garvey Drive in Kingston. This is to provide additional space for business activities. We have more details.
Excited, FCJ, to be embarking on this expansion program. This represents the largest industrial complex in Jamaica, and we are doing it in 3 phases. Phase 1, where we'll be adding 126,000 square feet of warehouse spaces to accommodate warehousing distribution for both large, medium, and small enterprises. Phase 2 will see we go into a further expansion where we will be expanding to have greater frontage at the Marcus Garvey Drive. As you know, we are located near shore, near sea, and to the port. So this is a very important complex. We are presently 100% occupancy, and we are getting demand over and over. And on an average, I would say per year, we get at least 400,000 square feet demand at Garmex. So with 100% occupancy now, it just spells sense that we go into our expansion mode.
Early in the pandemic, I gave the clearance for the construction industry to proceed. And I'm happy to see that the Factories Corporation has heeded that advice and is moving ahead with this massive construction project. It is also their mandate to spur investment. And so they are now investing in expanding warehousing capacity. This is not just capacity to support large industries or the logistics sector. It is also capacity to support the small, medium-sized, and micro business people who want space at reasonable cost to operate. And this is why I endorse this project. There was a period of time when this place was not fully occupied. Now, the garments-free zone is fully occupied and people want more space. It is a sign that there is fundamental demand in the economy, that there is real demand in the economy. The economists call it effective demand. It is a good sign, and I encourage the construction industry to move ahead with speed and alacrity with the projects that they have on their books.
Up next, an informative feature just for you.
As indicated last week, the current work from home orders will expire at the end of May. As of June 1, persons other than our vulnerable population, that is, persons aged 65 and over, and persons with comorbidities, will be allowed to return to work. The PSOJ has been working with the health authorities, and we are well advanced with developing the infection prevention and safety protocols that would be needed for the workplace. I've heard the concerns of certain groups from certain quarters, and I want to take this opportunity to clarify the government's intent in allowing the work from home orders to expire. We're not saying that everyone should return to work regardless of their circumstances. We acknowledge that there are persons who would have responsibilities by virtue of schools being closed and having children at home to attend to. We acknowledge, and we have said, that there are persons with comorbidities who should be very careful how they return to work. And therefore, we expect that the employers would exercise a high level of understanding in this period. But we also have the obligation, the duty to return our economy to its full productive capacity as quickly as possible. So our theme, our new theme, is work safe and work smart. So work that does not need physical presence at the workplace, we are encouraging our employers to dialogue with their employees, negotiate with their employees, use the facilities that are available under the flexible work arrangement legislation to put in place the framework, the measures, the systems, the solutions that will ensure that persons who have children at home, by virtue of school being out, persons who are ill, if they can be facilitated with these measures, let us use them. We have had this law for the last 6 years. It hasn't been fully utilized. Let us utilize it now. There is a sense as well that the government is moving too quickly to reopen the economy. And I want to address this point briefly. The Jamaican government has been very careful not to shut down the economy. Somehow, in the crescendo of opinions, we forget that there was an overwhelming call from certain quarters to shut down the economy. I mean, it's as if those calls were not made. The government did not respond to that. The government outlined a process that if cases reached a certain level and it became situationally appropriate, then we would still act, but with measure. And you would have seen that where it became appropriate, the government acted proportionately in a measured way, using the available data. And so you would have seen the government utilize community quarantine. We had lockdown of one parish, and we contained workplace clusters. But we never shut down the entire economy. We took measures to control our borders, and we have been doing that from the start. From even before the first case came to Jamaica, we put in place travel restrictions, and we gradually tightened those restrictions till we reached the point of closing the borders to incoming passenger traffic. And now we are at the point where we have to now change those restrictions to allow for the full operation of our economy.
I must say that we are pleased with the response from the operators of bars across the country. We have sampled since the period that the order was lifted, more than 2,500 bars have been inspected, and we are seeing where the general acceptance of the guidelines that has been laid out, Prime Minister, have been met. We have seen where, especially in the corporate area, there's a very high percentage of compliance with operators taking the necessary steps to ensure in the areas such as where there are no stools, benches, chairs, or tables. We have seen a high of over 60% in those areas, where we have asked where gaming operations in terms of machines are placed in areas where social distancing can be practiced. That is one area that we are not happy about, because we are only enjoying over 30% compliance in that area. In terms of putting in the necessary facilities, we see where the bartenders are wearing masks, a high of over 70%. The presence of washing areas and sanitization for persons attending the bar, over 70%. We're seeing where the observing of the curfew hours is extremely high. Over 90% of the operations are complying with that order. And surprisingly, Prime Minister and colleagues, in the area of 5 persons, including the bartender, based on the survey that we have done, over 80% compliance in that area, and that is one area that we are very pleased. We are also observing the same discipline within the areas of the dominoes and other games, where the compliance is relatively good. Prime Minister, one of what we have found in the exercise that we have been undertaking is that a significant number of these bars are operating without the requisite permits, spirit license, food anglers permit, trade license, etc., is one thing. But a protocol is being worked out between the Ministry of Local Government and the Ministry of Justice to ensure that we work with these operators to comply fully. And the last thing, Prime Minister, this survey that is being conducted on over 11,000 bars, village bars and taverns across the country, is not the final decision. We are doing an exercise that will determine, but the final decision is that of the Ministry of Health, and they have been working closely with us to ensure that we do the survey. So we are expecting that by the end of the 14 days, we would have surveyed almost the majority of those bars that are open and are operating. But overall, we are seeing a positive response from the wider public on this matter.
how I stay healthy, safe, and smart. Remember, kids, always do this with your parents present. After I work out, I must rehydrate myself. Big Pig is sad. He cannot find his wig. This is how I stay smart, by reading. Kids, remember, the kitchen is not for you. This is how I stay safe. When I'm tired of inside, I come on the balcony and get some cool breeze.
Up next, understanding what's true and what's not about COVID-19.
People have said that the novel coronavirus cannot be transmitted in the heat. That is a lie. The virus can be transmitted in all areas, including those with hot and humid weather like Jamaica. Another myth is that it can be transmitted through a mosquito bite. To date, there has been no information or evidence to suggest that the new coronavirus could be transmitted by mosquitoes. This one has been very popular. Only old people can contract the coronavirus. Do not be fooled. People of all ages can be infected by the new coronavirus. However, older people, particularly those with pre-existing medical conditions like asthma, diabetes, and heart disease, appear to be more vulnerable to becoming severely ill with the virus. This is another popular one. Eat more garlic, you won't catch the virus. Garlic is a healthy food that may have some antimicrobial properties. However, there is no evidence from the current outbreak that eating garlic has protected people from the new coronavirus.
For some of you who have been working from home and are now preparing to head back out to the office, here are some ways you can sanitize your precious communication device, your phone, that is.
Android, iOS, non-internet based. It doesn't matter the brand, type, model, or cost. Phones need to be periodically cleaned. There are no apps, not yet, that will de-germ the outer surface of these mobile gadgets. And unless you have an ultraviolet UV sanitizer toolkit, you'll have to manually decontaminate the device. Germs are everywhere, and so too are our phones, inside a bag or pocket, on a table or counter, the car, bed, even in our hands. Placing our phones on these surfaces puts them in constant contact with germs, even the novel coronavirus. And according to the World Health Organization, the virus has a lifespan of up to 96 hours on surfaces. That's 4 full days on plastic or metals, the type of exterior shell of many phones. Constant touching of the phone with naked fingers that we then use to touch our faces, or directly placing the phone to our faces is a recipe for transmitting germs, bacteria, or viruses to the body.
First thing I do when I get home is I clean my phone. Because you're touching your phone and you're touching this surface that somebody else just touched, and then you put the phone to your mouth and you ha. And all of these particles that have ended up on the phone, they end up in you.
Apart from just not using a phone, our only defense is to clean them regularly. Soap and water would be best, but no, you should not submerge your phone in liquid. Instead, first wash your hands with soap and water, then dry them. Ensure that your phone is unplugged to prevent a possible electrical shock. Then, dab a clean cloth, preferably a microfiber or lens cloth, with a 70% isopropyl alcohol solution, and wipe the entire surface of your phone. Do not drench the cloth with too much solution, just sufficient to clean the device. In addition, be careful to avoid getting moisture into any openings. If you don't have an alcohol-based cleaning solution at hand, you can also use alcohol wipes. You should ensure the wipes have a relatively high concentration of alcohol. The best is 70% and above. This ensures that any viruses that are on your phone can be effectively killed. While you sanitize your phone, avoid using aerosol sprays, abrasives, and cleaners. And do not spray directly onto the phone screen or back. Bleach should also not be used to clean the phone as it may damage the surface. It is also best to wipe any relevant accessories used with your phone. Chargers, headsets, and phone cases should be sanitized at the same time you clean your device. They should also be removed from the device when cleaning. Now your phone and its friends are clean. To prevent putting your phone against your face or the likelihood of transferring germs or viruses, use Bluetooth, a virtual assistant or hands-free speaker system if you can.
By order, under the Disaster Risk Management Act, you must wear a mask in all public access places and in public transportation. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask, we are all safer.
June 1 marks the start of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. The experts are predicting that the 5-month period will produce 13 to 90 named storms. Of this, 6 to 10 could become hurricanes, including 3 to 6 major hurricanes. So here's a reminder: heed the hurricane or storm watches and warnings when issued.
Every month of the year, there has been in our history some incidents of flooding that has taken place in some aspect of the country. And that is something that we have to take note of. Apart from monitoring and giving the forecast, we are also responsible for warnings. And so there are some warnings that we want you to take special heed to if you consider yourself to be vulnerable in any situation. When we speak about a flash flood watch, it means that there is a feature, some kind of weather system that is going to produce enough rainfall that makes it possible for you to get flooding. So it means start to watch, because the water levels are going to be increasing and there is the possibility of the flooding. Now, if we start to see that in some area flooding has started to occur, or if we believe that the flooding has been so close to an area that it is going to happen in that area in a short space of time, we will escalate that flash flood watch and refer to it as a flash flood warning. So when we talk about a flash flood warning, it means not only that the flooding is possible, but the flooding either has already started to happen or is going to happen in a very short space of time because it is very close to that area. So it is important to know what the watch means as opposed to what the warning means. Usually with the warning, we will not only issue a warning, but we will also tell you what kind of actions are important or what you should not do. Like, do not go through flooded waterways because it could pose a risk to your life and to your property. Also, if you live in low-lying or flood-prone areas, if it is an area that is regularly experiencing flooding, a flash flood warning for your area would mean that now is the time to move to higher ground because the flooding has already started or is going to happen very shortly. It is also important for us to know where we live, because sometimes in our messages we might not refer to the actual town, but we will tell you what part of the country the flood watch or the flood warning is relevant to. So if we talk about central parishes, we are referring to Clarendon. We're also talking about Manchester. We're also talking about St. Anne. These are central parishes. So you have to be knowledgeable of where you live so that you know whether the message actually applies to you. The messages that we issue for hurricanes and tropical storms are watches and warnings as well, like the flooding. But in this case, for a tropical storm or a hurricane, when we issue a watch, it means the conditions that are associated with the storm or the hurricane are possible within a certain time frame. If you hear tropical storm or hurricane watch, you could get the impact of that system within a day and a half, 36 hours. If we mention that it is a tropical storm or a hurricane warning, it means that you only have 1 day before that thing can affect you. So we are moving to how quickly you need to make sure that you are prepared by naming it a watch or a warning. So the watch is the first level of the alert that there is something that is likely to affect you. But when we move to a warning, it means now is the time to batten down because you most likely are going to experience that storm or hurricane. We might have a tropical wave, which is the least of them, in that it can still cause a lot of rain and it can still cause flooding and devastation, but it will not have very strong winds associated with it. But then there is the tropical depression that is a little stronger because now you have winds that are moving with it, gusty winds, and it also has a lot of rainfall. Then you have tropical storms, which is a more severe kind of tropical depression because the winds are even stronger. And then if it gets even stronger, it could become a hurricane. So it's important that you have your radio and that your radio is battery controlled, not dependent on electricity, so that you can hear the warning messages that come from the meteorological service. Also bear in mind that if you dial 116, you will be able to hear the latest message coming out of the meteorological service related to any warnings. We cannot stop paying attention. We cannot let down our guard. You have to prepare yourself and stay prepared until we are out of the threat.
Put some cotton there.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.